We ready, team? Good evening. Welcome to the April Board of Adjustment meeting. For those of you in the audience who haven't been to one of these before, please allow me to review our ground rules. As we proceed through the agenda, staff will introduce each item for consideration. If you'd like to speak on a matter and you're not the applicant, either for or against it, there's a form out in the lobby we'd like you all to fill out, please, and you hand it to the clerk to my left. The applicant supporters will be heard first. Those in opposition will be heard next, and if there's a necessity, the applicant has a chance for rebuttal. Comments should be restricted to pertinent information before us. We don't want to hear personal disputes, homeowners association disputes, or anything like that. If you're an individual and you're not the applicant, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. If you represent a group, you'll have 6 minutes. And as we start moving along the agenda, as we start getting closer to your item, we found it's kind of helpful if you start moving down towards the podium. When you do speak, if you do speak, please give us your name and your address for the record. And we ask that each speaker be given courteous and respectful attention. We may ask questions of staff. We may ask questions of you. Don't be surprised. That's just how we help work towards our decisions. Any information that you share that's not already in the packet will be kept as part of the record. If you have something that's digital, we can see that too. We just ask after the meeting if you please send a copy to staff so it's kept in the record. Once we go through all of that, I will ask the board for their motion. Once a motion has been made and seconded, discussion from the floor will be closed and a vote will be taken. During the vote, members who do not publicly state their vote will be considered to have voted in favor of the item. And once this is all done, if something has ended in a way with which you're not happy, there is an appeal process to the county commission, and after the meeting, staff can help you with that process. Having said that, number one, please.
Good evening. For the record, Megan Zanorski, Project Coordinator for Planning. This variance request is for 1982 Longwood Lake Mary Road, which is in the R1 zoning district and within the platted subdivision of Longwood Park. The applicant is seeking 1, a front yard setback variance from the required 25 feet to 24.6 feet, and 2, a south side street setback variance from the required 25 feet to 0 feet for a 6-foot tall privacy fence. The subject property is a corner lot, and as such is considered to have 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Longwood Lake Mary Road. The fence is subject to code enforcement violation CV 23-299. The fence is 19 feet from the edge of pavement along Ruth Boulevard, and traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the existing fence. The fence will be required to meet all requirements at the time of permitting, including an estoppel letter for any easements. The subject property has no prior variances. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any additional questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant here? Chair would entertain a motion to continue this to the end of the agenda.
Motion. Second.
Those opposed? We'll say it passes by acclamation. Number 2, please.
Good evening, Megan Zanorski, Project Coordinator for Planning. This variance request is for 3440 Dawn Court, which is located in the R1BB zoning district within the platted subdivision of Astor Grand at Lake Forest. The applicant is seeking 1, a size variance from 1,851 square feet to 2,929 square feet, and 2, a height variance from 16 feet to 24 feet 1 inch for proposed detached 2-story accessory structure. The applicant has submitted 7 letters of support, which were provided with the agenda packet. The subject property received a variance in 2017 for a front yard setback variance from 30 feet to 0 feet for fence columns. That concludes my presentation. I am available for additional questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? Yes, sir, Mr. Evans.
Does Seminole County, as part of our code, does it use any sort of terminology like subservient? ADUs must be subservient to the primary dwelling?
Do you mean smaller than?
Smaller, so I used to sit on Winter Springs P&Z, and I'm not trying to add too much into that, but that was one of the clear language differentiate, is that the ADU had to be clearly subservient, similar driveway. It had, certain ratios of what you could be for square footage, things like that.
So an ADU at permitting will be required to meet all accessory dwelling unit requirements. They've applied for administrative adjustment for size. They will be required to utilize the same driveway. They have a maximum with the administrative adjustment of 1,100 square feet. So all of the permitting requirements will go through the planning manager for final approval.
Okay.
Answer your question?
Yes, sir?
Any other questions? Mr. Levant? It looked like you were thinking there. Okay. Is the applicant here?
Right here.
Yes, sir. Could you please come on down, please? I know this. I have a quick question. The others might also. If you the podium, please, sir, and share with us your name and address.
Todd Justin, 3440 Don Court, Lake Mary, Florida.
Before I ask mine, gentlemen, do you all have any questions? All right. Just real quick, I really like that you reached out to your neighbors and they shared, and I wish more folks would do that, and that's great. Just a quick question. I noticed your neighbor to the west, there's not a yes or no from them, and they seem to be one of the affected. I'm just curious if you chatted with them.
He hasn't been around. He's not one of the most social guys in the world. He's got his cars, and they kind of keep to themselves. They're right on the main road, so they weren't home, but we have no animosity with them or their action. Don't really know.
Every neighborhood has folks like that. I know what you mean. Gentlemen, any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here in the audience to speak in support of this application? Seeing none, anyone here to speak in opposition? Oh, yes, ma'am?
I'm Kathy Krusky, and I live behind them.
I'm sorry, if you want to speak, if you come down to the podium, please. Are you speaking in support or opposition?
Well, I just would like to know.
Well, come down to the podium, then that way we can all record it. And if you share with us, please, your name and address.
My name is Kathy Brewski, and I live at 1625 Rockdale Loop, and that is right behind him. And I would just really like to know what is being built there, if I have the right to that information. I mean, I don't know if I'm for or against it. I just know I got a letter in the mail that there was a meeting tonight, so.
Well, I noticed you'd come in a few minutes late, and staff did share the project through the screen as we're going through this. If maybe, I'm trying to think of a quick way you could chat with someone while we do the rest of our thing. Does anyone have a loose hard copy pack? Oh, Miss Megan is going to save the day. Thank you so much for doing that.
You'll need to.
And if you could please, just before you leave tonight, ma'am, if you could fill out that form that the clerk just handed to you.
Are they building another house?
No, it's an accessory dwelling. So it's a detached garage on the bottom, and then basically it's an apartment for a family member to live on the second floor. So this
I take the approach that sometimes democracy is a little slow and sloppy, and we can roll with that.
is here, and then the building is detached, so that's a driveway, and then the detached garage, and it exceeds the height. And because we have no size requirement, the total square footage exceeds the 50% that they're allowed.
So is that zoned in a single-family?
Well, Tia, why don't you take a look at that, and then if you have any questions, we or the staff can answer them, rather than just kind of piecemeal.
Garage that's on the first floor, and this is the accessory dwelling.
Yes, sir.
That's on the second.
Well, let's wait till we just have all the questions rather than,
It's a two-story building. It exceeds the square footage allowed. So if it was a one-story, it would be allowed. Because it's a two-story, that's why they're doing the variance. For the height and for this overall section, you can keep those under.
all right, so having said that, if you share your question now.
I think my question was more, I just wanted to really understand what was going on, because it is right behind me, and it, I'll be able to see it from my little Hanai, and I'm not, necessarily opposed to it. I just, wanted to know what was going on, and he hadn't reached out to me, so that's why I'm here. So I will think about this.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'm going to step back a little bit here and say, anyone else to speak in support of the application? Seeing none, anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, gentlemen, your pleasure.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Mr. Beagley, second by the judge. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Enjoy it. Number 3, please.
Good evening, Megan Zanorski, Project Coordinator for Planning. This variance request is for 684 Tomlinson Terrace, which is in the PD zoning district in the Lakewood at the Crossings Unit 4 subdivision. The applicant is seeking a southeast side street variance from the required 20 feet to 2.5 feet for a 6-foot privacy fence. The subject property is a corner lot and as such is considered to have 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Tomlinson Terrace. The Starstone Drive side is where the variance is being sought. The proposed fence is 4.5 feet from the edge of sidewalk and 17 feet from the edge of pavement, and traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. There was an error in my staff report. This fence is a subject of code enforcement case CV 25-81 for unpermitted construction of fence, windows, and doors. I provided the notice of violation and photos for the board on the dais. The subject property has had no prior variances. One letter of objection was received from 630 Brookfield Loop, which was placed on the dais, as well as a map showing the proximity of the letter of objection to the property owner. That concludes my presentation. I am available for additional questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant here? Please, sir, come on down. You'd share with us just real quick your name and address, please.
Sure. My name is Omer Nassim, and I'm at 684 Tomlinson Terrace, Lake Mary, Florida.
Gotcha. Gentlemen, any questions? Is there anything you'd like to add to what staff had said, sir?
There is one mistake. The offset on the Starstone is only 5 feet. It's not 20 feet.
Question for staff then, does that correspond to the application?
So traffic engineering is permitted to reduce the side street setback to 5 feet per code, but the actual setback that's required is that 20 feet. So because he does not meet the setback, it is a 20-foot required setback to the 2.5 feet, which is what the variance is.
Gotcha. Thank you, ma'am. I guess, Mr. Nassim, my question is, it seems like the reason for the application is because your contractor made a mistake. Why not have the contractor fix it? It's their problem, their cost.
They are gone. So now it's my problem.
As in closed.
Yeah, well, as if I'm not going to pick up your phone call because I've picked up my last payment.
Go ahead.
There's a house directly across the street that is 5 feet as well. There is also a house on South Sundance that's also 5 feet. When I told him this, I told him to check, and it was supposed to be 5 feet from the property line. He did 5 feet from the sidewalk, which put it 1.5 feet over the offset. Then I did speak with the building and planning zone, and I reiterated the 5-foot setback was the correct setback for Starstone, and the 20-foot was for Tomlinson. So she said, you're over by 1.5 feet, you're going to have to apply for a variance before the permit would go through.
When we're on here, my biggest thing is equality, is making sure that when we make decisions, it's equal to everybody. And one of the biggest things that I know that means a lot to me is the hardship, is finding out how did this place a hardship? Well, this old fence was on my property before. I wanted to put something new. I didn't know that it was it needed a variance for it. So they bought into the problem kind of thing. when it comes down to, and I'm not going to get in the middle of a business dispute between you and a vendor, but it's that the business is still open is what I'm hearing, correct? The business is still open, he's just not answering your call.
It was an individual owner, operator, contractor. It was not a business.
But they're still around, correct? The person's still around?
He is still around, correct.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Well, make no mistake, an owner, operator, contractor is still a business, even if he's a sole proprietor.
Right.
And if he still exists, I mean, it's an individual, he's fair game for whatever you might need to do if it doesn't pass 13A.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is going to be a move on my expense, if the variance doesn't go through.
So,
Yeah, and it's a terrible thing. I mean, I think I can speak for everybody up here, is nobody wants to put any resident through that, because that's not fair to you. But then again, it's also fair to, in fairness with the rest of the county, of everyone that does come with the variances as well. And trust me, you're not the first or the last that a contractor has done a no-no,
Yeah.
and then they have to go ahead and correct it or went out of business or whatever. We hear it all the time up here, and it really is a shame, the situation. So I'm sorry that it happened to you.
Right, I'm trying to get more of the backyard, side yard into the backyard, because we've got a baby coming, a grandchild that's going to be back there, so that was kind of the whole motivation of doing this. I still would like to try to get as much of the backyard in, so if I did have to move it, what would be the proper setback for that side of the street? Is it 5 foot or is it 20 foot? Because that's a big difference.
Staff?
It would be 5 feet from the property line,
So which puts
if
me,
approved by traffic engineering.
if approved by traffic engineering, so that puts me 1.5 feet over right now, the way it sits right now. And it's only portions of it that are 1.5 feet. Most of it, you know, not being a good contractor, he didn't measure correctly, so most of it is actually within 5 feet. If there's only the corner in the front and the corner in the back that kind of approaches the sidewalk and gets a little closer, and that's where I'm 1.5 feet over.
Okay. Gentlemen, any other questions?
is there a fence there now?
There is a fence there.
Yeah, it's a code violation.
And it's got anti-violation.
Right, but the code violation came after Brent drove by, he saw the variance, he saw the variance, then he drove by. Then I got the code violation. But I had been in the offices of permitting back in November when this first happened, trying to get a permit. And that's where the whole variance thing came up, and that's why I'm here.
What is the length of the fence that would be in violation? How many feet?
Well, the portions that are in violation probably are about 20 feet in the front and 20 feet in the back. The length of the fence is probably about 80 feet. Maybe a little less.
Gentlemen, any other questions? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone in the audience to speak in support of the matter? Is there anyone in the audience to speak in opposition? We'll close the floor then, seeing none. Gentlemen, your pleasure. Let me share a thought that I had on this.
I was going to make a motion so we can get into discussion, so.
My two thoughts always, and you guys have heard me say this a lot. One is, I generally feel like, you know, the rules of the game are the rules of the game. We all live by them. And if someone wants to change the rules, but their neighbors object, and we do have one neighbor objecting, then it's kind of reverting back to, well, then we stay by the rules. But the other thought is, and if I, dangerous thing, but if I put my lawyer hat on, I think there are remedies for people who are done wrong by a contractor, if they're done by a professional. And I think if we start allowing, and I know there's a danger to talk about precedent, and nothing is a precedent, but just if it is known that this board is sympathetic to a contractor made a mistake, so you can get away with violating the code, that might be an incentive that we don't want to have out there. And so just, those are my thoughts on it.
My question is, have you discussed with your
We
contractor?
closed it, Judge, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Was that-
Yeah, shame.
I mean, going off with that, like I said, I'm going to make a motion to deny.
We have a motion to deny. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second from Mr. Levant. All those in favor of the motion to deny, say aye.
Can we have discussion there first?
Oh, do y'all want to discuss? I'm sorry, you're
I
in.
had a question.
Yes, sir.
If you talk with your contractor,
No, discussion with us, Judge.
Close quote from input. So we just talk amongst ourselves.
okay, well, who am I talking to now?
Or you can talk amongst us or the staff.
Okay. I can talk to myself, I do that really good. My question is if you inquired of the contractor the expense of putting those 8 feet of fence in conformity?
Sounds like it would be the contractor's problem.
Well, I mean, if he, he's talking about it's his problem to find and pursue the contractor. Meantime, he can do self-help and still have a basis for the action. So my question was, has he inquired of his contractor how deep the hole is as far as what it's going to cost him to put that section 8 feet?
And the resident had answered that he's not returning calls anymore.
No,
So-
but another fence contractor.
Oh, okay.
Somebody else who can give him an estimate as to, I can only put the fence this close to the property line, I got point A to point B, what's it gonna cost me to put the fence here? And then he may, after he sees what, I'm not gonna tell what kind of experience he's gonna have from it. But I'm saying, it sounds like information he's gonna have anyway, if he pursues the contractor to put the fence up, to claim his damages. He's gonna have somebody tell him.
Mr. Chair, the thing that it is, and I'm basically putting it out there for anybody that is watching, is with contractors, the residents always are the ones that take this on the chin. They're always the ones that have to spare out the expense because of a bad contractor. It's not the first time that we've seen this. We've asked the BCC to go ahead and try to do something like make some stiffer rules or laws, et cetera, but it's the residents of Seminole that always have this problem. They're always the ones, when we look like kind of the bad guys, as in denying this, but we're following the regs and the rules that are set forth that we have to. But the residents, and that's just me on a soapbox, are always the ones that are having to be punished for this.
Yes, you're totally right. I think you say it happens, I think it happens almost every single meeting.
It's a shame.
Especially with fences, it's generally because the contractor has pulled a fast one. And yeah, it is terrible. And it's a lawyer empowerment thing when I see something like that. But I think that has to be that first step, is going after the contractor rather than seeking a change of the rules. But that's just me.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And I do have a quick question for staff. So let's say, he had gone through the process. Would he have needed the variance to go to the 5 foot for the fence?
No, that's done internally.
Okay.
During permit review, we internally route it to traffic engineering.
Okay.
And since traffic engineering had no issue with the reduced to 2.5 feet, it would be approved at 5 feet.
Okay, but let's assume he came through the proper process in the beginning prior to the fence. Would he have still had to go? Because I know it was already done after the fact. Is that kind of what I'm hearing, that because they approved the 2.5, they would have necessarily approved the 5? Or would he have had to gone for the 5 foot variance in the beginning?
It's not a variance, it's an internal. So what we do is, so if he came in not meeting setbacks, say showed it at 0, we would guide them to reduce it to 5, saying if you want to reduce it to 5, please show that on your site plan indicating the 5 foot setback. Or if you choose to do it at 0, please apply for a variance. We give them that option if it's not code enforcement. And if they do reduce it to the 5, then we automatically internally route it to traffic engineering for review.
Gotcha, okay.
I think it's time to call the vote unless y'all disagree.
That's fine.
All those in favor of the motion to deny the application, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
All right. It passes with one dissent from the judge. Number 4, please. By the way, sir, if you want to appeal what we have, our denial here, you do have that option, and staff can talk to you about that after the meeting.
Thank you.
Good evening, Megan Zanorski, Project Coordinator for Planning. This variance request is for 4168 Leafy Glade Place, which is in the PD zoning district in the Deer Run Unit 12B subdivision. The applicant is seeking a rear yard setback variance from the required 25 feet to 17 feet for a 224 square foot screen room addition, 8 feet by 24 feet in size. The subject property has had no prior variances. That concludes my presentation. I am available for any additional questions.
Is this replacing the existing screen? This looks like from the aerial, it looks like in the back there's a screen, but I could be looking at it incorrectly.
I was looking at the same thing.
Yeah.
This is a screen room that looks like a screen enclosure.
But, or rephrase the question then, is this then, I'll tell you what, I'll ask the applicant then. And, but just a second. Any other questions of staff? Seeing none, yes, sir, please. If you'd share with us your name and address for the record.
Sure, Tony Bevilacqua, 4168 Leafy Glade Place. I'm the owner and applicant, and I did bring the contract here just in case. And to answer your question, yes, right now there's a very large canopy screened-in patio that's got about, I think, a 7.9 foot setback. I want a much smaller, lower roofed patio so I can be out of the sun and out of the rain, have my coffee.
Is this in addition to what's there, or are you going to tear down?
No, we're removing that, ripping it out and putting in a smaller one. It's set up for a pool. I'm not a pool guy. I'm the only
Yeah.
person in Florida who's not a pool guy.
It's just the rules have changed since the house was built, and it strikes me as. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, sir.
Gentlemen, questions?
Is he telling us that it might rain soon? That's what I was
I'm hoping my grass is done.
If we approve this. I would wish. Judge, question?
Well, yeah, you're replacing a larger screen.
Yes, sir.
With a smaller screened-in area.
But with an aluminum roof for the
With aluminum
for the
roof.
weather. Yeah.
That sounds nice, if it ever rains.
Whose feelings is
I'd offer you to come over. I don't want to sway the committee.
You just invited all of Seminole County over.
Drinks on me.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Is there anyone in the audience to speak in support of the matter? Anyone in the audience to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Gentlemen,
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
move to approve, Mr. Beagley. We have a second. Second from the judge. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, enjoy, sir. We'll be over soon. Number 5. Oh, there we go.
Good evening, Megan Zanorski, Project Coordinator for Planning. This variance request is for 1200 Alberta Street, which is in the R1 AA zoning district in the San Lando Spring Tract Number 15 Second Replat subdivision. The applicant is seeking an east side street setback variance from the required 25 feet to 0 feet for a 6-foot privacy fence. The subject property is a corner lot and as such is considered to have 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Alberta Street. The Marla Avenue side is where the variance is being sought. The proposed fence is 17 feet from the edge of pavement and there are no sidewalks. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. 2 letters of support were received for the proposed variance and were included as attachments to my staff report. The subject property has had no prior variances. 1 letter of objection was received from 630, I'm sorry, that's not for this one. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for additional questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Mr. Lamont.
So there's been no letter of objection?
No, there hasn't, I'm sorry.
No problem, thank you.
Is the applicant here? Anything you'd like to add, ma'am, to what staff had said? Okay. Well, if you do want to speak, I need you to come down, but if you don't want to, you don't have to.
Would it be helpful if I did?
Gentlemen, do y'all have questions?
I have
Yeah,
one-
please come on down. And if you'd share with us, ma'am, please, your name and address for the record.
Yeah, I'm short. Danae Henricks Durham, 1200 Alberta Street, Longwood.
Judge?
Yes, now, are you next to the property?
No,
She's the applicant.
I'm the applicant.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, okay, well, then, the fence you want to put goes right up to the road.
No. Basically, the fence is already there. When the hurricane was last October, it knocked down a whole bunch of it, and we're just trying to replace the fence that was there when we moved in the house.
You're putting the fence back where the old one was.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Okay.
propped up with, all sorts
How long
of,
had the other fence been there?
it was there when we moved in 2005.
This is just fix and repair,
Yeah, basically, and replacing the whole,
replace it, yeah.
yeah, we've, yeah.
Any other questions, gentlemen? Thank you, ma'am. Anyone in the audience to speak in support of this application? Seeing none, anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, gentlemen?
Chair, move to approve.
Mr. Evans has moved to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Levant with a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, enjoy, ma'am. Number 6.
Good evening, Megan Zanorski, Project Coordinator for Planning. This variance request is for 940 Lake Markham Road, which is in the RC1 zoning district. The applicant is seeking a north side yard setback variance from the required 20 feet to 5 feet for a shed. The proposed shed is 120 square feet, 10 by 12 feet. One letter of support was received for the proposed variance by the directly affected neighbor to the north and was included as an attachment to my staff report. That concludes my presentation. I am available for any additional questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions for staff? All right, is the applicant here? Yes. Is there anything you'd like to add, sir? Y'all have questions for the applicant? All right, anyone here in the audience to speak in support of this? Seeing none, anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, gentlemen?
Move to approve.
Judge has moved to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Beagley? Not too fast? Sorry. The motion to approve from the judge, approved by Mr. Beagley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Enjoy, sir. Number 6, strike that. Number 7.
This item is being continued.
I was even told that. I've got a note right there. I'm sorry, number 8.
7 is off the docket.
Right,
Yes.
we're continued on 7.
Got it. I had a good question for that one.
You know, I did too, man. I was going to have fun. Megan, geez.
We have different ideas of fun.
Number 8. Ms. Gates, are you up for that?
I am.
All right.
Item number 8, excuse me, Angie Gates, for the record. Item number 8 is a request for a fence height variance from 6.5 feet to 8 feet in the R1AA Single Family Dwelling District. The subject property is located in the Estates at Aloma Woods Phase 2 subdivision located at 5729 Oak Lake Trail. The existing 90 linear feet of 8-foot tall privacy fence is 1.5 feet over the maximum allowable height. The Estates at Aloma Woods Homeowners Association approved the privacy fence, and one letter of support was received from the neighbors directly behind where the variance is being sought, and that was placed on the dais this evening. A building permit, 2416748, has been submitted, and should the board decide to approve the variance, the permit can be approved. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? Is the applicant here?
Oof.
Oh, goodness.
I had a question
I don't
too.
know.
Oh,
I have
goodness.
no idea.
Traffic was horrible out there. Chair will entertain a motion to continue this to the end of the agenda.
Second.
No objection? We'll say it passes by acclamation. We'll come back to it. Number 9.
Okay, item number 9 is a request for a side yard west setback variance from 10 feet to 6 feet for an existing detached garage, and 2, a side yard west setback variance from 10 feet to 6 feet for an existing detached carport, and 3, a side yard north setback variance from 10 feet to 1 foot for an existing detached carport in the R1AA Single Family Dwelling District in the San Lando Springs subdivision located at 1540 Hobson Street. The property is a corner lot and considered to have 2 front yards for setback purposes. The existing 981.72 square foot detached garage encroaches 4 feet into the required west side yard setback. The existing 365.5 square foot detached carport encroaches 4 feet into the required west side yard setback and 9 feet into the required north side yard setback. In 1985, the owner of the property at the time hired a contractor to pull the required building permits and construct the detached garage for unknown reasons. The permit was never inspected and the permit expired. No permits were located for the detached carport. However, if the carport is older than 1985, staff would not be able to locate permit records. It is unknown if the carport structure ever received a building permit. The current property owner would like to bring the existing structure into compliance with Seminole County Land Development Code in order to convert a portion of the detached garage into an accessory dwelling unit for an elderly family member. Under the current Seminole County Land Development Code, ADUs are permitted use within the R1AA zoning district. Converting a portion of the garage into an ADU in the future will require a building permit, site plan approval, and approval of all required building inspections. In 1984, a front yard setback variance was approved from 25 feet to 17 feet for a porch, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? All right, is our applicant here? Yes, sir. All right, if you please share with us your name and address for the record.
My name is Shad Smith, and I am at 1540 Hobson Street.
What would you like to add to what staff has shared, sir?
Well, this is on the ex-golf course hole there. That shows it well. So I think even when this was built, you can look back in aerials, the 50, 75 feet beyond that was trees. And so when it was built, there was no visibility. Since the golf course has gone away, it's, you know, it's kind of pushed it down some, but Seminole County doesn't even maintain that. I maintain 15 feet past that anyways. So that's why I was surprised it was so close in the end. But when we bought the home too, we intended all along possibly, if my dad got worse, that's where we were planning on doing it. And that's what we're trying to do, is give my dad a place that's not, you know, in a nursing home someplace or something like that. But that's it.
That is the nationwide trend, that's for sure. Gentlemen, questions for the applicant? Did you chat with your neighbors about this?
I've chatted with the one. I've now realized I probably should have chatted with them about it, but I hadn't thought about it. I know a number of them have stopped and all read the signs because everybody walks around. It's a very, you know, social community in Rolling Hills there, so.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience to speak in support of this application? Seeing none, anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, gentlemen?
I actually have one last question for staff, if it's okay.
Oh, please, go ahead.
So I'm seeing 2 different re-roof permits here. So I mean, our county has ostensibly been to the property since 1985 and inspected potentially this roof of this non-permitted, non-variant structure.
That's building.
Right. But, I mean, okay, then never mind then.
No, go ahead and ask.
I mean, I guess that's
would not
kind
be
of
the first time I was wrong, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at, like, how does this come to be, you know, in 2025 when we've been out there in 18 and 21 on their roof?
Not all inspectors check for all permits to see if everything existing has been permitted or done. I really can't speak for the building department, so
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
We could have caught it if those type of building permits went to zoning at that time, but we wouldn't have reviewed a re-roof.
Okay.
And so we would have captured it with the
Okay.
building permit, but
So the roof was approved based on roofing standards, but it wasn't, okay, all right, that makes sense then, okay.
Left hand, right hand.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Did I ask audience? Yes, your pleasure.
Chair, move to approve.
Mr. Evans moves to approve. Is there a second? Second from the judge. You're okay? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, enjoy. Number 10, halfway through.
Item number 10 is a request for 1, a north side street setback variance from 25 feet to 0 feet, and 2, an existing front yard setback variance from 25 feet to 0 feet for fencing, columns, and gates that exceed 4 feet in height in the R1 AAA Single Family Dwelling District and the Sweetwater Club Unit 1 subdivision located at 200 Riverview Drive. The subject property is a corner lot considered to have 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house, the way the house was built, sort of faces both street sides. There are 2 types of fencing located on the property. There's a 6-foot rock privacy fence and a 5-foot open metal fence with 6-foot arched metal gates. The gates are attached to the concrete columns, each column having a light fixture at the top totaling a height of 6 feet 1 inch in height. The existing fencing and columns located on the north property line are 31 feet from the edge of pavement, and the fencing and columns located on the east property line are 35 feet from the edge of pavement. There are no sidewalks in place within the Sweetwater Club Unit 1 subdivision. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. A building code violation, BV 25-29 was issued for the fencing and columns being constructed prior to the building permit being issued, and there have not been any prior variances for the subject property. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? Ms. Gates, did I read correctly that this was erected without a permit?
It was, but I'll have the property owner explain to you when they come up. It's same situation with a contractor.
Well, is the applicant here? Yes, sir, please. We want to hear your story. And if you'd share with us your name and address for the record, please.
Nishan Bajaria, 200 Riverview, Longwood.
Tell us the story, please.
Same situation. We thought the contractor had the permit. After 10 months, we found out that the fence was never issued a permit.
Oof.
After we moved into the house. So it wasn't right away. After 10 months, I got a letter from county saying the fence was never issued a permit. And they're no longer in business. They sold the company off, and the new company doesn't want to take over the project to even come on, explain the situation here.
Gentlemen, questions?
I carry my soapbox from the last one to this one as well.
Ditto, gotcha. Thank you, sir. Goodness, is there anyone here to speak in support of the matter? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Gentlemen, let's just discuss this for a second before we call a motion.
I don't want to be the bad guy twice.
I know, Judge, you were going to say something, go ahead.
The changes requested are already in place.
Yes.
Yes.
They're trying to ratify what
We're looking at the
was
pictures
done
now.
without a permit.
Poles and everything else.
I think I feel like a lot of times there is a part of me that feels like, my goodness, these people are so getting taken advantage of. But at the same time, there are causes of action out there for these kinds of things. And I'm not sure if seeking variances in lieu of litigation is the right course of action.
It's rewarding bad behavior. What you permit, you promote.
That's perfect. Couldn't say better.
That's from my wife, by the way. I'll give her due credit for that.
Mr. Levant, your thoughts? We got 3 lawyers on the panel. We should get 3 opinions.
I agree, at the same time thinking, if this contractor is out of business, what type of ramifications can we get from this specific contractor?
But would that be up to us from, we're not the fixers.
That
Yeah,
is
you've
true.
got the form of the contract. Is there a successor and a sign? There's a whole lot out there. We just don't know.
Yes.
Spoken like a true defense lawyer.
Which makes me think, it's a question for staff. Let's say for this gentleman and the prior gentleman who was in a similar situation, if we deny the application, how much time has to pass before they reapply?
They can apply every month.
Okay. So it means that perhaps if you hit a wall, if your lawyer hits a wall, you don't, because there's some things you have to wait a year for to come back.
There are,
Yeah,
except for
so
variances.
once a month, that's good. All right, that's good to know. All right, what's your pleasure, gentlemen?
Move to deny, Mr. Chair.
What's that?
Move to deny.
We have a motion to deny from Mr. Levant. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Beagley. All those in favor of the motion to deny, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
We have an opposition from the judge. So the motion was denied. You can appeal this to the county commission if you want. Staff can help with that. You can try other avenues and come back to us in a month or following months. I'm sorry, we're done. We're moving on to the next one. Number 11.
Item number 11 is a request for a west side yard setback variance from 10 feet to 7.5 feet to enclose an existing carport in the R1AA Single Family Dwelling District in the Jensen subdivision located at 6024 Lineal Beach Drive. The carport to garage conversion is 441 square feet and encroaches 2.5 feet into the required side yard setback. The applicant applied for a building permit number 25-2495, and at that time it was determined that a side yard setback variance was needed. There have not been any prior variances for this subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? All right. Is the applicant here? Is there anything you'd like to add, sir? Yes, sir. Please do. Come on. Just share with us your name and address real quick.
Ken Lucas, 6024 Lineal Beach Drive.
Yes, sir.
I have a letter of support from my neighbor directly to the west in support of the variance.
Excellent. Gentlemen, any questions? That was easy. Easy. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in support? Anyone who'd like to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Your pleasure, gentlemen.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve from Mr. Beagley. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Second from Mr. Evans. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, enjoy. Best of luck with the young'un coming on.
Oh, here.
All right, number 12.
Item number 12 is a request for a north rear yard setback variance from 30 feet to 3.5 feet and to an east side yard setback variance from 10 feet to 7.5 feet for a shed in the R1AA Single Family Dwelling District located at 1195 Wymore Road. The proposed variance request is located on parcel 23-21-29-300-0090-0000 in unincorporated Seminole County and is owned by St. Anthony Coptic Orthodox Church, Inc. The church parking and other associated buildings are located on an adjacent parcel in the city of Maitland. The city of Maitland denied the church's request to annex parcel 9 into the city of Maitland due to the county boundary going through the church's property, thus creating two separate parcels, and due to the complexity of the situation, Seminole County staff recommended that the church submit a small site plan.
A small site plan?
A small site plan application. Once the small site plan was submitted, project number 24-06000075, and reviewed, it was determined that setback variances would be required prior to site plan approval. The proposed shed will be 390 square feet and will encroach 23.5 feet into the required north rear yard setback and 2.5 feet into the required east side yard setback. The shed will be for storage of domestic items related to the church, and there have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions for staff?
Yeah, I've got one. Perhaps I missed it. It almost appears like this will be seen like from the road in traffic, like not right away, but am I just kind of misseeing the overhead?
You will see it, but that is, the Wymore Road is the ramp.
Right.
And then I-4 is directly behind it, and because the county boundary cuts it off, that's the only location that they have to place a storage structure. They can't put it in the parking lot.
Sure.
Because it would take up parking, and then I believe, you can't tell by these pictures, but in the Google map view, the property, it looks like the elevation is so much lower, like it's a swale or it's retention. So it wouldn't be able to go into that far back corner as well, but, I mean, we can ask the applicant. But yes, you would be able to see it from Wymore Road. Their access would have to be through the church property. It is basically the church property. It's just in Seminole County.
Right.
Maitland doesn't want to annex it.
Okay.
All right, any other questions for staff? Is the applicant here? Oh, we do want to hear from you. If you'd share with us your name and address, please, sir.
Rami Sadrak, 370 South Triple Lake Drive. I am one of the board members of St. Anthony Coptic Orthodox Church. This is a very unique and such a bizarre situation that we're in. We have tried since the beginning of construction. This is a new church that was finished 5 years ago. During the planning phases, we tried to take advantage of that parcel land that was donated to the church, but through politics and stuff, it wasn't, so they just left it. And now we find ourselves in a very dire need that we need storage. Our church is a very active church, and it's growing, and we just have a lot of plays and activities and stuff that we need to be able to store it without causing havoc inside the church. So that is the only place that we can locate a storage. And the church is very conscious also of the look of it. It's a beautiful church. If you ever drove by it, so that's the last thing we want to do is put something up that's going to be an eyesore. So the shed that's being installed or decided on has similar texture, finishes, colors to match or complement the church building structure. And I just want to clarify something about the visibility of it. You know, if you are in Wymore, you are in a ramp ridge, so you can't really see it. There's just no way you can see it. It's really only in the I-4, and if you're driving 60, 75 miles an hour, it's difficult for you to see it, but that's...
Gentlemen, questions for the applicant?
First of all, if you're driving at 75, you're driving too fast.
Slow down and look at that pretty church.
Or the shed.
And the shed, yes. You're going to put a dome on the shed too, and, no, I'm teasing. Thank you, sir.
Is the shed right up against the property?
No, it's going to be set back 10 feet, I think it's 10 feet that was our setback from there. We actually have to create a swell behind the shed so that the water drains into it. So, I mean, this had to go through a site plan review, and I got comments for it, and then it has to go to a building review, so it's a pretty
This is the
involved.
first step.
Huh?
This is the first step.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. Anyone here to speak in support of this application? Anyone to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Your pleasure, gentlemen.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion approved from the judge. We have a second from Mr. Beagley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Enjoy. And I do think your church is lovely, by the way. I drive by it all the time. All right, number 13.
Item number 13 is a request for a front yard setback variance from 100 feet to 16 feet for a storage building in the A5 Rural District located at 835 Old Lake Harney Road. The existing storage building is 1,800 square feet and encroaches 34 feet into the required front yard setback. The storage building is used for personal use only. A building code violation, BV 24-265, was issued for the storage building. The applicant has applied for a building permit number 24-16017. Once the permit is issued, the applicant will be required to complete all required inspections. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? Is the applicant here? Please, sir, come on down. And if you'd share with us your name and address, please.
Good evening, everybody. This is Adam Nelson. I live at Lake Harney, 3800 Lake Harney Circle in Geneva. I'm the general contractor for Mr. Nordine.
Gotcha. Do you know kind of how this, your take of the story of this is?
Well, I'm a local contractor in the area. A lot of people call me to get them out of binds. And what happened here is Paul Jr., he houses his, takes care of his dad now. This is his dad's old property. So once the code violation came in, he's like, Dad, what's this? His dad's 90 years old. He don't remember. But this was built before Junior had moved onto the property. And now that we have this issue, he wants to get it resolved, so we, pulled the building permit. And looking at this a couple different ways on the way this property and this home is positioned on it makes it kind of a controversy, because the address is north, so it would be, the building would be behind the home. But however this was permitted initially, the home is the reason why we're here for the variance.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, questions for the applicant or for his contractor? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone in the audience to speak in support of this? Seeing none, anyone in the audience to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
I move to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Mr. Beagley. Is there a second? Second from the judge. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, it passes. Best of luck, sir. All right, and we've got number 14 was withdrawn, so we go on to 15.
Thank you. Mary Robinson with Development Services. This is a variance request for 2125 Linden Road. It's a request for a front yard setback variance from 25 feet to 0 feet for a fence in the R1A single-family dwelling zoning district. The subject property is on a corner lot and as such is considered to have 2 front yards. The front of the house faces Linden Road. The property line adjacent to Knoll Street is the side location where the variance is being sought. Knoll Street is a platted right-of-way, but it is not an open road. The privacy fence is 6 foot high in a vinyl material. The fence is on the property line, therefore, like I said, the 0-foot setback request. There was a code enforcement violation, 25-10 was issued for the fence construction without a fence permit, resulting in the necessity of this variance. The property owner did submit a fence permit application, 25-1356, and approval is pending on the outcome of this hearing.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, question? I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, I turned the page. Traffic Engineering has looked at this request and does not object. There are no prior variances for the subject property, but there were 2 variances in the neighborhood for a fence height at 2153 Linden Road, and a setback variance was approved for 1918 Linden Road. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant here? Yes, ma'am. Anything you'd like to add? Please, just come down and give us your name and address for the record.
Molly Vega, 2125 Linden Road. We did replace the fence that was there previously when we purchased the property 4 years ago, and it was permitted and approved at that same place. We put it up in the same place, and then as they said, it's like, if you can see from the pictures I had submitted, it's not really a road, it dead ends at the side driveway. And then it has a fence also on that side of the street. That's it.
That is correct. There was a permit that was approved, but it was issued in error. So when they came back to apply for this new fence permit, the variance
was required.
Gotcha.
It should have been required back in '21.
Gentlemen, questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone in the audience to speak in support of this matter? Seeing none, anyone in the audience to speak in opposition? Seeing none, gentlemen.
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Mr. Beagley. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Second from Mr. Evans. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Enjoy fence. Number 16.
Yes, thank you. Mary Robinson with Planning and Development. This is a request for a side yard, east side yard setback variance from 10 feet to 8 feet and 2/10 inches for an addition and to correct the non-conforming side yard setback for the existing home at 116 Lamplighter Road. It's located in R1AA Single Family Zoning District. And the subject property is located in the Apple Valley subdivision. Like I said, the variance is to accommodate a 600 square foot addition of a bedroom and a bathroom and to correct the non-conforming setback for the existing home. There have been no prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Anything you'd like to add to what staff had shared? And if you'd please share just your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Matthew Appel. I'm with Extreme Roofing and Construction. We're at 147 Parliament Loop in Lake Mary, and Robert Griffith is our customer. This home was built on that setback, or well, I guess in non-compliance of the setback, because I guess it's set at 10 feet. It's at 8.2. He hired us to do an addition, keeping the same, line of the home, moving back to the back. And when we were doing our research to work on getting the permit and everything together, we had realized this. So that's why we're here. It's just to keep his house in line so it doesn't jog in 1.5 feet. So.
Questions for the contractor, for the applicant, gentlemen?
It's nice to have a contractor in here that's...
Right?
Just saying. Good people do exist.
That's right. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Gotcha. Anyone in the audience to speak in support of this application? Is there anyone in the audience to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Your pleasure, gentlemen. A motion approved from the judge. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Levant. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you, gentlemen. 17.
Yeah, thank you, Mary Robinson again with Planning and Development. This is a request for rear yard setback variance from 30 feet to 20 feet for a single-family residence in the R1 single-family zoning district at the location of 2225 McCarthy Avenue. The subject property is located in the Lockhart subdivision, and as I stated, it's on R1. The proposed single-family residence is 1,190 square feet. A building permit was submitted in November 11th of 2024, BP 24-16390. The site plan application was submitted, was approved with the R1 setbacks being met and the 30-foot rear yard setback being met. When the applicant went to apply for his septic permit, the contractor informed him that the septic would have to be located in the front yard due to a well being located in the rear yard. And I'm sorry, what? And they could not meet the separation requirements. So the site plan was revised, which generated the need for the 10-foot setback in the rear. There haven't been any other variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Anything you want to add to what staff had said? Come on down. Just please share with us your name and address for the record.
My name is Lionel Southward, address is 607 Hickory Avenue.
Yes, sir.
I am here just for what she said. We found out that it's a well for the other property. that would be too close to our septic tank. So we have to move our septic tank to the front yard. So we're just asking for a variance to push the house back another 10 foot so we can put the septic tank in the front yard.
Gotcha. Gentlemen, questions? All right, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Anyone here to speak in support of the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition? All right. What do y'all think?
Move to approve.
Move to approve, Mr. Beagley. Is there a second? Second, Mr. Evans. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, enjoy, gentlemen.
You don't want to combine the two.
What's that?
You don't want to combine the two, well and septic.
Those are words to live by, absolutely. Number 13, please.
Yeah, thank you. Mary Robinson again for Planning and Development. This is a request for a rear yard setback variance from 30 feet to 15 feet for an accessory structure. And number 2, a square footage variance to allow this accessory structure to exceed 50% of the living area of the principal dwelling in the R1A single-family zoning district. The location is 7400 Betty Street. This subject property is located in the Wrenwood 3rd Edition subdivision. The accessory structure proposed is 1,560 square feet. It's 39 feet by 40 feet. 2 letters of support have been received from Mr. William Wilbanks and William Betty Castillo, and they're located at 7406 Betty Street. The proposed accessory structure, like I said, is 1,560 square feet. The principal living area is 1,534 square feet, and the total area of the principal structure is 2,091 square feet. This concludes my presentation.
Ms. Robinson, is that just, not that it's a big deal, but is that just a drainage canal behind their place on the opposite side of Betty Street?
It appears so.
Gotcha. All right, gentlemen, any questions for staff? Is the applicant here? Anything you'd like to add, sir?
Well, unless you have questions or won't approve it.
You all have questions? All right.
You don't want to approve it.
Hedge your bets, I understand. Yes, sir, indeed. All right, thank you, sir. Anyone here to speak in support of the applicant? Anyone here to speak in opposition? All right. What do y'all think?
Move to approve.
Move to approve from Mr. Beagley, second from the judge. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, enjoy. 14.
Mary Robinson again, Planning and
19, I'm
Development.
sorry. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
I just correcting myself. I couldn't read my own handwriting. Sorry.
Oh.
Please.
This is a request for a rear yard setback variance from 20 feet to 10 feet for a screen enclosure in the Planned Development Zoning District at 1398 Swinton Court. The subject property is located in the estuary at St. John's subdivision, and that is also the name of the Planned Development Zoning classification. The variance is being sought to construct a 30 by 32, 960 square feet screen enclosure. There was a building permit application submitted, which is pending approval if the variance is approved. A letter of support has been received from a resident that resides at 1386 Swinton Court. And there have not been any prior variances for this subject property, but there were 2 rear yard variances that were approved on Swinton Court for a screen enclosure, and the other was for a privacy fence. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Anything you'd like to add? I mean, please, feel free if you want to share anything. Oh, no. I'm sorry.
He's like, no.
If you, sorry, we're going to drag you up here. And just real quick, your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Saurabh Pachauri and I'm 1398 Swinton Court, Sanford, Florida. And so I need the 10-foot variance instead of 20. And same my neighbor did already, 1386, that I already put the supporting letter. So that I request you to please provide me the approval.
Gotcha. Gentlemen, questions for the applicant? All right. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Anyone here to speak in support of the matter? Seeing none, anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, what's the board's pleasure?
Motion to approve, Chair.
All right, we got a motion to approve from Mr. Evans. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Beagley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, enjoy, sir.
Motions on everything. It's somebody else's turn.
Number 20, and then as a reminder, we have two that were continued. Number 20, please.
Yeah, thank you. Mary Robinson again, Planning and Development. This is a request for a square footage area variance to allow an accessory structure to exceed 50% of the living area of the principal building in the A1 zoning classification. The location is 1850 Lake Mills Road. The subject property, as I said, is zoned A1. The proposed structure is a 60 by 120 square foot accessory structure, and that is 7,200 square feet. The structure will be used to store vehicles such as a car, boat, and RVs. So this request the section of the code states that accessory buildings shall not exceed the principal building in terms of mass, size, and height unless they're located in A1 and used for agricultural purposes, which this structure is not proposed to be used for that. The principal building living area is 3,663 square feet, and 50% of that would be 1,831.5 square feet. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant here? Anything y'all like to add?
I thought we've already seen him once. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we're going to judge you based on your prior performance, so. Yes, sir, just to follow the rules and habits, share your name and address again, please.
Yeah, my name is Matthew Appel. I'm with Extreme Roofing and Construction, and our address is 147 Parliament Loop in Lake Mary. So this applicant is looking to, or our customer is looking to build a structure to houses, RVs, and things that have been kept outside for his family. There's a lot of other structures on the same road on Lake Mills that have the same type of structure that's already constructed. I attached some photos in the application for you guys' review. Just wants to use it for storage.
Go on, you were saying?
That was basically it.
Okay.
Yep.
Gentlemen, questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
See what kind of advertising for your business when you follow the rules? Oh, goodness. Is there anyone here to speak in support of this matter? Anyone here to speak in opposition? It's the board's pleasure.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion approved.
Judge got second.
I had my head down. Who moved to approve? Mr. Levant? And who seconded? Wait, who's on first? Judge seconded. All those, all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, enjoy. Good luck on the project. All right, returning back to number 1, is that person here?
Wait.
Yeah, we're all scrolling away like that here. That's a technical term, I recognize that.
Angie's gone high tech with the noise making.
Wait, which one was continued? What number?
First one was number 1,
1982
Longwood Lake Mary Road.
That's fine. I'm here.
That's yours? Oh, good.
Hey.
Welcome.
Counselor, do we need to read this into the record again? No, they weren't here, so we didn't do it, did we? That's right. It's been such a long night. All right, number 1, here we go.
No, we're not ready yet. Sorry. I'm sure there's an easier.
These long
There we
agenda
go.
nights,
Okay.
So the question is, Angie, are we ready?
Sorry, you may continue.
No, it's, hey, we're all in this together. All right, number 1, let's see, here we go.
Good evening. For the record, Megan Zanorski, Project Coordinator for Planning. This variance request is for 1982 Longwood Lake Mary Road, which is in the R1 zoning district, and Within the platted subdivision of Longwood Park, the applicant is seeking, 1, a front yard setback variance from the required 25 feet to 24.6 feet, and 2, a south side street setback variance from the required 25 feet to 0 feet for a 6-foot-tall privacy fence. The subject property is a corner lot and as such is considered to have 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Longwood Lake Mary Road. The fence is subject to code enforcement violation CV 23299. The fence is 19 feet from the edge of pavement along Ruth Boulevard, and traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the existing fence. The fence will be required to meet all requirements at the time of permitting, including an estoppel letter for any easements. The subject property has had no prior variances. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any additional questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions for staff? Seeing none. Ma'am? Anything you'd like to share with us? Or you're good? You all have questions for the applicant? That was easy. Anyone here? For those at home on TV, there was no one here. Anyone in the audience to speak in support of this matter? Seeing none. Anyone to speak in opposition? Seeing none. It's the board's pleasure.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve from Mr. Beagley. Who's the second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Levant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, to your fence. And then we've got number 8. While we all take our time and not rush anybody.
Check with Angie first.
I tell you what, I'm not going to get my wrist slapped.
I can see with the computer part, I can't see with the reading.
Okay, item 8, again,
See it, right?
is a request for a fence height variance from 6.5 feet to 8 feet in the R1AA Single Family Dwelling District in the Estates at Aloma Woods Phase 2 subdivision located at 5729 Oak Lake Trail. The existing 90 feet of linear feet, whatever, of 8 foot. You know what I mean. I'm just kidding. 8-foot tall privacy fence is 1.5 feet over the maximum allowable height. The Estates at Aloma Woods Homeowners Association approved the privacy fence, and one letter of support was submitted from the neighbors directly behind where the property variance is being sought. Let's see. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Was that the applicant who walked out, or?
No, that was a lady that was here.
For Don Court.
I thought they were going to be hauled back in because they were the applicant. Well, it looks like the applicant's not here.
Are we sure it's not the deputy?
After all these years, deputy, you got one finally.
I also wanted to note that there was an 8-foot variance for the same thing, same request, rear yard, 8 feet, located down the street that was approved as well.
So for the record, Assistant County Attorney Robbie McHugh. So our code says the applicant and his or her representative, agent, lawyer may appear at the hearing. So there's the may, it's not a shall or a must. That being said, this is a matter of first impression for me. I don't really know how you all have handled this in the past. I think from just a conservative approach, I would recommend continuing it to a date certain. I know it's not really a controversial item, but that's just my 2 cents on this. You may make a motion at your discretion. There is some latitude in the code, but I think that's the safest approach. Do you want to discuss it?
Yeah, and thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. And you know, gentlemen, if you disagree, and that's fair. My thinking is, I think this is better served by letting the applicant share whatever they want to share. And I would think continuing to a date certain would be the way to do it, but whatever y'all think.
I agree.
Yeah, I
We have a
agree.
motion to continue to a date certain. Judge, would you recommend saying that date certain being whatever the date of our next meeting is?
May 19th.
Thank you. May 19th? Is there a second?
I would second that motion, yeah.
Passes by acclamation. Thank you, gentlemen. Last thing, considering the minutes, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Approve, or motion to approve, sorry.
Again, by acclamation. Thank you so much. Anything else you all want to share? We are adjourned. Thank you so much.